All right, good afternoon, everyone, or I guess good morning, maybe for some. Welcome to today's EA Career Panel. Our NAEA's Executive Vice President, Megan Killian, will be kicking us off.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you all for joining the Enrolled Agent Career Panel discussion. This program, hosted by the National Association of Enrolled Agents, or NAEA, and the NAEA Education Foundation, is designed to give you a taste of what it's like to be an enrolled agent, a profession that few know about, despite the fact that there are nearly 60,000 EAs in the workforce right now. EAs are in high demand, especially as taxes continue to be more and more complex. And our panelists will talk more about that during the discussion. A little bit about NAEA first. NAEA is the only association dedicated to the EA profession, and we provide networking, education, advocacy, and connections for EAs across the US and abroad. The NAEA Education Foundation provides scholarships to help aspiring EAs cover the cost of exam fees, as well as review courses to prepare for the special enrollment exam. We are currently accepting scholarship applications right now, and more information about that can be found in the chat. So right now, I would like to introduce our moderator, Catherine Bostock-Hootie, who is the chair of the Education Foundation. Catherine?
Thank you so much, Meg. I'm Catherine Bostock-Hootie, enrolled agent. I'm an NTPI fellow. I have been an enrolled agent since 2005. I've been in business for myself since 1998. Doing tax preparation, representation, and some accounting work. As we get into the discussions, we'll talk a little bit more about all our backgrounds, but I'm going to introduce our panelists for today's discussion. I'm going to call out first Chris Pistorino. Hope I said that correctly.
You did.
He is a brand new EA. Congratulations to Chris.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us how you became an enrolled agent and why.
I'm a bit of a career changer. I spent most of my life as a musician, a jazz musician. I play the upright bass and I love doing that. I still do it. But as I started having a family, I wanted to find work that was more at home and less traveling and more consistent. So I started preparing taxes with H&R Block. And as I progressed with that, I also started taking classes at a community college. And then now I'm finishing up my master's at the University of Scranton. And I got a job as an accountant for an engineering firm. So right now my work situation is I'm an accountant all year round, but during tax season, I'm also a tax preparer. And this year, I decided to really put some effort in and get my EA to become an enrolled agent. And I just passed the third part of the test. So I'm very happy about that. That's done. And I'm just waiting for it to come in the mail. I'm still plotting my next moves with all of this education and certification that I'm gaining. I'm not sure where I will take my EA credentials and run with it. So I'm also very glad to be part of this panel to hear that discussion.
Thank you very much, Chris. Next, I will go to Kathy Brown, who is also on the tax preparation side of things, and let her introduce herself.
Thank you, Catherine. My name is Kathy Brown. I am an enrolled agent. I started my career many years ago by started at college and really thought I wanted to be a teacher. And then I picked up a side job as a secretary / bookkeeper at the time. And we're talking way back when. And once I started into college, I decided accounting was where I wanted to be. And wasn't long after I started taking accounting classes, during college, I said, I'm going to own my own firm one day. So I graduated from college, went to work for the largest CPA firm in my area, worked there for just a couple of years. And since my mission was always to have my own practice, wasn't long after that I started my own business in 1995 as a sole practitioner. During college, I had started picking up bookkeeping work on the side. So I kind of had a clientele that was starting to grow before I even graduated from college. After I was a sole practitioner, 3 CPAs said, hey, it'd be fun if we started a firm. So I was a partner in a CPA firm for a number of years. And then I went from there back to a sole practitioner, decided partnerships wasn't quite as much fun as they might seem at times. And just like anything, sometimes they fall apart. So it fell apart, and I've been a sole practitioner ever since. And I absolutely love what I do. I don't know that I will ever stop doing what I do. It's just fun.
Thank you. That we have 2 panelists that their career path is a little bit different. They don't really do tax preparation. They are more on the representation side of things. So let me introduce Rosie Steele from Optima Tax.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Yes, hi, my name is Rosie Steele. I work with Optima Tax Relief. It's very possible you've seen some of our commercials, heard some of our radio jingles. It's got some really silly music to it. But it's a very big tax relief company. They do focus primarily on the representation side of tax profession or tax payers who owe a lot of money to the IRS. And we also do a lot of tax preparation, but primarily we focus on the representation part of it. For myself, I started out as a customer service representative at Optima. I had 0 experience when it came to anything tax related. I didn't know what a 1040 was. You know, I started at the bottom of the bottom. And that was actually a great way for me to learn from the bottom up and understand, get a great foundation of education and knowledge when it came to tax preparation, to resolution, to the different departments within the IRS and what we do and how we are able to work with them so closely and come to a mutually beneficial arrangement with them for the client's sake. I decided to get licensed with my enrolled agent license probably after 3 years of being at Optima. And when I became an enrolled agent, I focused on, I specialized with working with revenue officers who tend to handle the kinds of cases where taxpayers owe a lot, like we're saying at least $250,000 plus. So I got a really good way of learning the harder kinds of cases as well, based on that experience. After a few years of that, I recently became a manager of tax professionals who work with the ACS department, so the automated collection system. So I'm overseeing a group of them do that, and that's where I am currently. So I've just really gone all the way up as far as I could at this point, and it's a continuous knowledge. You learn so much, no matter how long you've been doing this. It always changes. There's always more to learn. There's always so many opportunities for an enrolled agent out there. So that's my experience. It's been a great one. I love it too.
Thank you. Caleb Cardin is PhD. He's an enrolled agent, and I think his firm specializes in representation. So tell us how you got into this and what you do.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. So we do a little bit of everything. So I was finishing my graduate degree here locally, and I had my brother and a friend who were doing taxes. They'd started a small firm. It was just the 2 of them. They needed a little help, and I was looking to do something that was a little less theoretical and a little more practical. And so I decided to join them for a little while. That was about 11 years ago. I'm still here. So we started with just the 3 of us. We now have 11 EAs that work with us and about 25 staff. We do a little bit of everything. We try to focus on tax advisory services, tax representation if we can. We also do Tax preparation is sort of a necessary evil in that regard. We do accounting and payroll as well. I wear a lot of different hats. That's really sort of what drew me to the career, right? Is that you can do a lot of different things with it. And we've used our practice as a springboard to create some practice management software that we just developed over the last couple of years. And so I've been spending a lot of my time working on that. But yeah, doing a little bit of everything, but really trying to focus on small to medium-sized businesses and providing, quality, affordable tax advisory services that help them sort of navigate the complexities of tax, which can really hammer small to medium-sized businesses on a regular basis because it is difficult to find good representation.
Thank you, Caleb. In the pre-discussion, Chris asked a question, and I'm going to put it out to all the panelists to answer. Chris, being a brand new EA, I don't remember specifically your question, but it was asking how we all got into this and how we all made whether it was a full-time job or Chris, jump in here and ask your question.
Right. So I was just saying, as I said at the beginning, I'm still trying to find my way and see where this EA will take me. And for myself, I prepare taxes, and it just happens during tax season. So I'm wondering, how does one have a job all year round in this realm? Because my year-round job is accounting for a company. So I'm just wondering, is there work year-round, and what does it look like if it's not during tax season?
I will sort of kick this off, and then we'll go around. I've been doing this for 23 years now, and I started out doing bookkeeping services for small businesses, plus income tax returns for individuals. I started the business and I had 3 regular accounting clients. And then I went from 3 regular accounting clients to that growing. And I think the first year I did income tax returns, I did about 10 individual tax returns. I am not what I would consider a huge firm, but I do about 350 tax returns a year. About 250 of them are individual income tax returns. The other 100 are related to the businesses that I'm doing bookkeeping work for. So 350 is about what I can handle. So Kathy, do you have a different experience than that?
Pretty similar, actually. I started out with a bookkeeping business in college, just on the side. And then once I left the CPA firm, of course, there was a non-compete. So I kind of was starting over again, but I worked other jobs, and then the evenings built my practice. I also, throughout the bulk of the year, I do a lot of QuickBooks Pro Advisor work. I do what I call shared controller services. So if you need somebody to come in once, I used to do a lot of on-site with this, but since the pandemic, now it's all Zoom and shared screens and whatnot. But basically once a month or once a quarter or once every 6 months, I come in, I look over your accounting, your bookkeeping, help you clean up anything, help keep the clients right online. So I have that level of service, as well as everything from training staff. I do a lot of training for companies that have just hired their new bookkeeper, or maybe the wife or the daughter is trying to do the accounting and the bookwork. And I always tell them my job is to put myself out of a job. And when I get done, the only thing that I have left to do is a corporate tax return or, a Schedule C, and the books are nice and clean and you understand your numbers. So I do a lot of that, as well as I do full service accounting for a lot of clients. I've cut way back on the number of that just because starting to slow down a little bit in my practice, but That's year round. I do a lot of that. And then of course, at turkey time, we do tax talk. So we do tax planning at that time and just kind of take a look at the numbers, and so that the clients aren't surprised come March 15th or April 15th. But I fortunately have more work than I can do, which is, I consider myself very blessed. So Chris, if you build it, they will come. I promise.
Caleb, do you have similar experiences to that?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I would echo what Kathy said, which is that there is no shortage of work, right? Finding work has never been the issue. It's finding how to do the work that is always the issue. And there's a lot of ways to do it, right? I'd certainly providing accounting, bookkeeping services, payroll services, share CFO services, controller services. There's a lot of ways to do it. But I think whatever you enjoy doing, you start to do it, and the word of mouth referrals are going to happen probably faster than you could anticipate, right? I think in our firm, we've never really done any marketing, because I think if you do a good job and if you migrate from solely just doing tax preparation to tax advisory, right, and really trying to work with your clients to advise them on tax law and to be proactive about it and structure and all those things, the clients are going to be super stoked with what you provide, and they're going to refer their friends and their coworkers and everybody else, and it's going to build, again, I think faster than you would anticipate it building. I think, oftentimes, at least in my own mind, right, I build it up as like this huge hurdle that I've got to get over. But really, it's just about, again, doing a good job, doing the thing I like to do, and providing a reasonable service for people. And I mean, people are starved for that. Like, that's been my experience.
Mhm.
That's really interesting. I know a lot of the calls that I've gotten in the past 2 years have been from people, because I'm not advertising for new business, have been from people whose existing practitioner has retired. And so they're looking for somebody else that's qualified to do their tax returns. Rosie, are you having any trouble? I heard you say that you're managing a staff. Are you having any trouble finding enrolled agents to fill your ranks?
Well, let me start off by saying that I have a high amount of admiration for those that have built their own businesses. I feel like it's an incredible feat to accomplish, and it's only something that I could only endeavor to do one day. So props to you guys for all that. That's really impressive. It's intimidating to think about it, but for me, and for I know a lot of people who are just starting out as enrolled agents who want to kind of gather the kind of experience that they would need, the perspective I can provide is one as an employee of a tax firm that does the sort of thing that utilizes enrolled agents. That's exactly what I did. As I mentioned before, I had no experience whatsoever, but I gained it by being an employee. And Chris, speaking to your question of year-round work, there's always year-round work when it comes to people owing taxes. They always owe. Even if you advise them, even if you educate them, they make that decision. Sometimes it happens. That's what people do. You can do so much, but in the end, people will owe taxes. And that's what we as enrolled agents can also help them with. We can help them to fix it as best we can based on their current circumstances. That is the case no matter if it's tax season, no matter if it's off season. The balance is always going to be there. It's their financial circumstances that can change, and that is something that we're able to help with year round. So I know Optima Tax is a very big firm. We do have a lot of enrolled agents for multiple types of positions, not only just representation, but also for doing compliance checks, that sort of thing. So if you're able to find a firm, I know there's more out there, a firm that's closer to you, you can always reach out to them to see if they have any positions where you can gain that kind of experience, learn how to talk to the IRS, learn the loopholes that you can, kind of take advantage of, and learn how best to represent your client, because that's what you're there for in the end, is to make sure that the client's happy with the services based on their current circumstances. And yes, right now it is difficult finding the amount of enrolled agents that is needed, especially quality. But the good thing is that I know for Optima in particular, once we hire an enrolled agent, they tend to stay. We don't lose very many of them. We don't have a high turnover. They like to stay. So the amount of open positions is not always available. It's usually full because it's a very coveted role at Optima. They're a very good employer. They take care of their employees and they pay very well. So.
Going back to Caleb, are you having trouble finding qualified enrolled agents? And what qualities are you looking for?
Yeah, good question. The short answer is yes. Enrolled agents are hard to find, hard to come by. We certainly try to recruit as best we can enrolled agents. We also try to recruit at the master's degree level and at the bachelor's degree level to try to expose those people to the enrolled agent career path. We find that not many of them have heard of what an enrolled agent is or what an enrolled agent does. And so we really work hard to try to expose them to that career path. And so we have, we have anywhere from 4 to 6 interns always working for our office just to try to expose them to that career path, that being an EA is something that can be a really fun career, right? I know in accounting, sometimes it gets a little bit of a bad rap, right? That it's maybe not fun, but it can be really fun career path, and it can be really lucrative, as Rosie said. The pay can be great. The hours can be great. I mean, certainly people were busy during tax season, right? That's to be expected. But that provides a lot of flexibility outside of tax season, and really can provide for a really nice quality of life and a work-life balance that you might not get at some other career paths. So yes, finding EAs is always a challenge, at least for us. And that goes back to that there's always work, right? There's always work to get done. Mm-hmm. There's always new people looking for work to get done. And we have a hard time saying no. So we usually say yes, and then we try to find a way to get it done.
I've worked with my local 2-year community colleges and have hired interns from their accounting program into my practice. And several of those interns have actually become full-time employees mm-hmm. at my practice. Mm-hmm. The area that I find it hard to compete with is typically if I hire them as a full-time employee, I've only got them for about 2-3 years tops, because they gain enough experience working for me that they can go to any other local firm. Being a small business, I can't offer the benefits that an Optima Tax can, or some of these larger firms. So once they get the experience, they go out and they go to these firms that, while my pay is competitive, they can get medical insurance, they can get 401ks, and they can get all of these things. So unfortunately, for me, it's a little bit of a revolving door if I can get somebody hired to begin with because of the benefits.
An area that worked for me, at one point, I think that I had 12 employees. And at that point, that's when I decided this isn't quite as much fun as I thought it was going to be, because I'm managing people and not doing what I'm really good at. But one of the things that worked for me to meet that employee need was I started hiring teachers, high school teachers, middle school teachers, elementary school teachers. And they love to work in the evenings. They love to work on the weekends for the extra money. And it all started because the first one, she had triplets. She was a single mom with triplets that were about to start college. And she said, do you have anything I can do for some extra money? And it just worked out so well that I started just reaching out to the teachers that I knew at the school. Hey, do you have anybody that might be interested in working part-time during tax season? And the teachers liked it, especially if I gave them the flexibility, of working from home some, which I did do with a few of them. It worked out really well.
So Chris, did we answer your question?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I know there's a lot out there. I don't know exactly how to look into the different avenues and see, just to research it. Does anyone have any suggestions on that besides just like Googling general terms and trying to find out what paths I could find?
Well,
I
you
would
can, oh, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead, Caleb.
I was say you can just go to a place like Indeed or something like that and just search for enrolled agent. And it'll pull up all of the current postings. And I think that gives you an idea of the flavor that's out there, right?
Sure,
It's going to be
sure.
a really diverse selection there of sort of job opportunities. That's, I think, an easy way to do it. I think Kathy maybe had a different suggestion, but.
I'm going to let Meg go first. She raised her hand.
Oh,
Like,
No, okay. She's just waving at us.
I didn't mean to.
That's okay. Sorry to call you out on it. One of the things I was going to suggest is that I've seen and I've actually done consulting work or just kind of contract work for a lot of different types of firms. So, and I've had friends that have done that or other colleagues that have done that. So, for example, at one point I had a law firm reach out to me and say, hey, would you like to help with some resolution work? We're a little overwhelmed right now. You were referred to us by somebody else. So I just picked up some side work there. And that gets you the exposure. So you can just kind of, take on some, I'm sure Rosie or Catherine or Caleb or even myself can each expose you to something different. And, a lot of times, as we all said, there's just more work than we can do. It's nice to say, here, Chris, here's a project. Why don't you take this and see what you can do with it and get the exposure with one of us walking alongside of you to kind of help you get exposed to resolution or bookkeeping, accounting, or tax prep, which I think you're experienced in. But and just that way you can say, you know what, I really like this part of this project. And then you can kind of hone in and try to move your career in that direction, whether it be resolution, prep, bookkeeping, accounting, whatever it may be.
To go along with what Kathy said, in the early days of my practice, I spent a lot of time at local chamber events, chamber of commerce events, where if they had a business exposition, I had a table out with brochures on it. If they had monthly networking events, I was there at the networking events. Not necessarily because I was trying to get business, but when you deal with somebody's finances, in order to get the business, they actually really need to know who you are or have to have a really strong referral from somebody that's a really satisfied client. So by getting my face out there in the community, even though I'm not a salesperson and I'm not really comfortable with that, I eventually, over time, when somebody needed somebody, they'd say, oh, I've met her. I know who that is. I'm going to give her a call. And it took a lot of time. It took a lot of networking on my part, but it worked. And that's how I was able to do it. Do you have different experience, Rosie?
Well, when it comes to Optima, they are such a big company that they're able to have marketing. There's a whole marketing department. So yes, a lot of it does come down to word of mouth, however, because reputation is everything. When there's a really satisfied client, we ask them to post their experience so that there's a positive experience that people can look through and see all the reviews of happy outcomes, whether that be a resolution, whether that be filing original returns to replace SFRs, which ends up saving hundreds of thousands of dollars. That happens more often than you'd think it would. And so yes, the reputation and the reviews of clients is a really big deal when it comes to obtaining new ones. Because people, when they search tax relief, they're going to come to Optima fairly quickly because of how big the company is. And so if there's obviously really good reviews and an A rating for the BBB, that sort of thing speaks volumes right there, and will at least get them to call in to see if it's something that Optima can help them with.
Mhm. I did a lot of the chamber events as well. Catherine and I came up with a very basic presentation. I think it started out as the top 5 things you should not do, or how do I don't remember. I had a catchy phrase, but it was basically top 5 reasons you're going to be audited. And it would just be something like, don't use round numbers on mileage, just very basic. And I would just present that in 15 or 20 minutes at chamber events. And the attendees loved it. Of course, they would come up to you afterwards and say, well, I think I might be going to get audited because of ABC. And well, okay, well, come see me. Let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do to keep that from happening. And that actually built up a lot of my client base as well.
Caleb?
Yeah, I think, whether it's a chamber event or it's other things that you can be at, education is a huge part of it. I think a lot of our clientele have come from just education events, right? Where we're not going looking to get clients necessarily. We're just looking to educate people on tax law and misconceptions. We present often to groups of real estate agents or insurance agents or health insurance brokers, just to help them as those are often people who are starting their own business, but then maybe they don't feel like they're really starting their own business. And so working to educate them on, look, you have a business and there are things that you should be doing, both from an accounting standpoint and from a tax standpoint, to protect yourself and to try to save some money in tax. And so I think, whether it's a chamber event or whether it's a charity golf tournament or whether it's, there's all kinds of things you could go do, but really that focus on educating just the public in general about taxes, that's been the biggest benefit to us from a business perspective.
And don't forget that when you are, I hate to throw my family under the bus, but I might as well. So my family was notorious for, especially anyways, using another tax preparer, but then at holidays or events or kids' birthday parties, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
And even not even just in that environment, you're at a friend's house. I have a tax question. Well, you're not using me to prepare your taxes, so you need to hire, you need to speak to your tax consultant, and it's not me.
Mm-hmm.
But keep in mind, those are all potential clients. Do not assume that everybody does what we do and can answer those questions. There's a reason why they ask us these questions. It's because we're smart, we know the answer. That's worth something. So don't give away that advice. Invite them into your office, give me a call. I'll do a 30-minute consult with you for free, but then work in your little sales pitch from there to try to build that clientele.
Mm-hmm.
Meg, did you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I legitimately raised my hand this time. Just to add that getting involved in and joining professional organizations like NAEA and other ones is a great way to build your business contacts and business network. In fact, it's how we started a relationship with Pacesetter through Donald, through Caleb's partner. And, it's a great way to get yourself out there, meet other EAs and network. And the other thing I would add is when you're doing presentations for chambers and other organizations, it's putting the EA name out there in general and demonstrating the expertise and the knowledge that EAs have. Because like I said, a lot of people don't know what EAs are, but the more that you're out in the public eye, demonstrating that knowledge and expertise, the better. So it's just overall raising awareness for the profession in general.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really great point. Earlier being a member of NAEA and doing the networking that I do with NAEA, earlier this year, I had a client that moved to Switzerland and wanted me to continue doing their tax return. And I don't do international tax work. I don't want to do international tax work, and I don't want to learn international tax work. And because of my networking with other professionals, I had several people that actually do international tax work that I could refer them to, and that was absolutely great.
I would say, I think all of us here would probably agree that one of the biggest challenges, once you build that client base and you're busy, the work's on your desk, is finding the right people to help you get it done. I think that was, I started my first bookkeeping business in the 80s. I'm going to tell my age a little bit here, but and that was always my biggest headache, is finding people to help me get it done. And there's not a real magic. I don't have a magical answer on how to recruit the right people. I just know it was my biggest frustration.
So having said that, and if each one of the panelists would answer this, what kind of skills or interests are important for successful enrolled agents?
I'll take a stab at it. I don't know that there's like a set criteria, right? I think, I think to be a successful enrolled agent, you need to be able to think critically. Just think critically about what you're doing. But I think that goes across the board, right? If you're going to be successful in anything, you need the ability to think critically about the work that you're doing. And you need to, I think, right, being able to interact personally with both your clients and coworkers is, again, it's important to your success in anything that you do, but in particular, being an enrolled agent, that's critical, right? To Kathy's point, you can find someone who knows the debits and credits, right, and how to do the bookkeeping, but man, if you can't talk to them about something besides debits and credits, it becomes really hard to make that a sustainable relationship. And the same, I think, goes with clients, right? Our clients will call us with questions across the board, right? Oftentimes they're not really tax questions, even though they might think that they are tax questions. And so to be able to have a conversation with them and be like, look, I'm happy to talk with you about it. That's outside my wheelhouse, but let's talk about it. Or, talking about how their family's doing or what they're up to outside of just the business that they own. I think those are skills that are really important. And they're really important in anything that you do, and in particular, being an enrolled agent and being successful at it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Being able to communicate it. Exactly. One of the CPAs that I was a partner with in the CPA firm, he was a brilliant individual, incredibly smart, could quote Internal Revenue Code sections like no tomorrow. And we would attend a client meeting and leave the meeting. And by the time I got back to the office, I had a call from the client that said, okay, he explained to me and I have no idea what he's talking about. So now can you tell me in normal language what this means? And a lot of times it can make the client feel, dumb for not understanding it. I've told many of my clients, one of them, for example, was a trucking company. And he said, I'm sorry, I just don't understand. And I said, ask me to drive your truck. We do this for a reason. It's so that we can help our clients understand and feel comfortable with what they're doing and why they're paying what they're paying, and understanding their tax notice or their bill. And just to give them peace of mind so that they're not worried about it. But if an employee can't communicate it, and I could write the handbook of the worst clients in the world or employees in the world. I'm pretty sure I've had them all in my office at some point. And I can tell you that communication is key. If they show up for work and they can communicate, and then we've got something to work with. It's a great starting place.
I agree to that point. Communication really is key on multiple fronts. Not only do you have to really know what you're talking about, you have to be able to relay it to clients, educate them in a way that they will understand, and at the same time be able to communicate with the IRS, if we're talking about representation, to best argue for your client and say, well, I know that they're claiming above standard, but maybe we can work it out to where we can let them have this higher monthly payment at least for a year, make it so that they don't have to pay the IRS too much for a little while. So yeah, it really does come down to being able to educate the client so that they don't continue to make the same mistakes, and that they can comfortably say that they understand how to avoid becoming in the same situation in the future.
Absolutely. And a good client will always, I always say, toot your horn. So in other words, they will go around and say what a great job you did. If they're going around telling other folks that you're not doing a good job, then you need to get rid of that client. Yeah.
What kind of courses do you think, and I'll throw this to Chris first, what kind of courses help you prepare for your career as an enrolled agent?
Well, when I first started this, I went right to H&R Block, and they have a nice like basic training that was very helpful. And then every year to get you have your continuing education classes that you have to take in order to continue to prepare taxes. And those are always, I take them through H&R Block. You can take them from any number of places. And those are great just to, you have to do it to continue to do what you do, but it's a great like forced education. Like, even if you're feeling lazy, you have to do this in order to make money doing what you're doing. And while you have to do it, you're actually, you're continuing to learn every year. Also, I went right to community college to start learning about accounting. And it's pretty affordable to find a community college that has classes. I found one that had a certificate program. So because I already had my bachelor's and other things. And that's how I started learning about the basics of accounting. That's, not even just talking about taxes. And then for getting the EA license, there are specific online courses that you can look up. And I know there's one that is affiliated with NAEA. The one that I took was affiliated with H&R Block, and that was called Fast Forward Academy. And, the online portal made it feel like I was always in the context of how it would feel when I take the test. So all the little practice quizzes, when I wound up actually taking the test, it's like, oh, this feels just like it did when I was just taking my little practice quizzes. So it kind of, I wasn't nervous when I had to sit in front of that computer at the test site, because it felt familiar. So I would definitely say, for anyone who's looking to get their EA license, to find one of those online classes that you can take, because it gets you in the mindset and it makes you feel comfortable, so that when you sit there, after you go through the whole rigmarole of like them wanding you, and because there's all kinds of safety or security protocols, and it's pretty crazy. They had me take off my glasses and take off my mask, and it was and roll up my pant legs and everything. And when you take a break, they have you do it all over again. But I totally understand. They want it to be legit. They don't want anyone getting this certification that didn't do the work and learn the things that they need to learn. But yeah, all that to say that if you take one of those courses, it really helps you feel more comfortable when you're sitting there in front of that computer. And then I think it'll make it easier for you to pass the exams.
What do you like best about your job?
I like helping people. So when people sit down and they have questions, or they just, they want to sit there and have someone who knows the ins and outs prepare their taxes for them, and so that they feel comfortable in the end and they feel secure that it's done properly. They're not going to get audited. They're not going to get some letter in 3 years that says, oh, you totally messed up and now you owe us all this money. And also I like answering people's questions who, I have a client who just texted me today who has a question about, wants to buy a home with his fiance and wants to know, can she gift him money and will it be taxable? So I'm going to get back to him after do a little research to make sure I give him the right advice. But that's the kind of stuff I enjoy helping people out with.
I love to hear you say you're going to do the research, because I always said a smart person doesn't know all the answers, but they know where to find them.
Yeah, I wouldn't, and that is definitely something that I would say up front, say, okay, well, I don't know everything, because there's a lot to know. The tax code is vast, and I'll definitely look that up for you, and and we'll talk about it. That would be the best approach that I would usually go for.
Rosie, what do you like best about your job?
Based on the representation side, I tell you, there's nothing quite like the feeling of releasing a levy, whether it be a garnishment on someone's wages or a bank levy that someone's got $10,000 in there and you're able to get it back to them. Like that is just an amazing feeling, because it's a real life miracle for some people, because that's their money, that's what they're using to pay for Christmas presents, or that's what they're using to, save it for a car that they really need, or all these scenarios where people really need that money and they weren't quite, on par with what they needed to do to get into compliance, and they made a mistake. But, being able to help them get that second chance, that's just huge, because I tell you, once they get levied, they pay attention from there on. They will listen to you very closely on what to do and what not to do. So levies are a blessing and a curse, because it gets them to actually pay attention to you when they may not have been before. And they also realize that you really can help them in a realistic manner once you're able to release that. It's an amazing feeling. So that's definitely something that I love being able to do.
Caleb, what do you like best about your job?
Everything. No, I think I would echo a lot of the other comments. I think, being able to help people in a tough tax situation is a great feeling, right? I think oftentimes as enrolled agents, sometimes we sell ourselves short on our knowledge and what we do know and what we can do. And sometimes we discount that with our clients. I think Kathy mentioned that earlier, right? And at least for me, I've got to sort of work hard to keep that in mind, right? That I do bring something to the table, and I do bring knowledge to the table. And so, when it's always really satisfying, right? When you get a new referral of a client who comes to you and you look at 2 or 3 years of tax returns and you can see, okay, hey, I can see that there is either a clerical mistake or a strategic mistake on these returns. Let's amend those. Let's get you some money back, and let's get everything right moving forward. And they're always just so appreciative of that fact, right? That you're not only able to find it, but you're able to communicate to them effectively what it was, right? Like in terms that they could understand. Again, what's been mentioned previously, that you're able to understand what the issue is and explain it to them in a way that makes sense, and then walk them through that process, because it can be nerve-wracking, as Rosie pointed out, when you're dealing with the IRS or a state taxing authority, right? They have a lot of power. They can reach into your bank account and take your money. Like, that can be scary. And so sort of demystifying that and being like, look, it's not so scary. Let's just take this one step at a time and get you through that process. That is fun. It becomes fun.
Kathy, I'll throw the same question at you. What do you like best about your job?
My clients. I love people. I love seeing the relief on their faces. They come in, they're stressed out that they're going to owe a lot of money, and to help them work their way through that, and just helping their lives become better. It's just, and they become friends, and they stick around for years to come. If you take care of them, they'll take care of you.
I agree with everything that you said, and I agree with most of what the panel has said. As a sole practitioner, even though I've got some employees that help me, what I don't have, and Kathy, maybe I should just call you up when I have these situations, is when, as a sole practitioner, when I get something right, where I have a big win for a client, like a no change audit letter, or I've got, penalties to go away, I don't have anybody to celebrate with. You can't just go to the guy down the hall and say, oh, I look at what I accomplished today. So that's the bad part about being the sole practitioner. Even though you feel good at, communicating to your client that you got this big win, the clients really don't always understand how big of a win those really are. And you want to be able to share that, but I find that kind of difficult because you can't actually go talking about your clients to other people. But I agree with all of you. I like the clients. I like being able to do a variety of things on any given day. My day is never boring, sometimes stressful, but never boring, because I don't know at any given point what I'm going to be doing during the day. So you start the day with a plan, and all it takes is one phone call from a client that, I got this notice, I got this, I got that. And you just stop everything you're doing because you have to deal with whatever that is at that point in time, instead of what you'd planned on doing. So it certainly is not boring.
And you mentioned that one is a lonely number. I talk to my dog. It sleeps under my desk a lot. And we did it. And then secondly, the other side of that is, and I just lost my train of thought. With the sole practitioner, we're in a situation to where we can also turn away clients. So,
Yes.
and that is it took me a long time to realize that I do not have to take every client that walks in my door. And then I have the right to tell them, just go on, find somewhere else. And that actually makes for a much better work day when you decide that clients are not good clients and they need to go.
So we're at 5:52. I'm going to go to each one of the panelists. Do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share with our attendees? Chris?
Well, if you're just starting out, like me, it looks like it's, there's a lot out there for us who are just starting out, and the testing process is not that scary. At first, I thought it was pretty daunting, but each step of the way, there's three tests to take, and each little notch of a win was very gratifying, and now it doesn't seem so daunting anymore. But I don't know, it feels good. Like there's a profession out there that's interesting and attainable.
Rosie?
The best advice I could give for anyone starting out is to find someone who you admire, who has been successful in the position. Even if they're not just friends, just see if you could reach out and just say, hey, I'm just starting out in this position. If I have some questions, would you mind if I bothered you just to ask some general questions and go over this? More often than not, you'll find someone that's more than happy to help you, because that sort of assistance is invaluable when you're starting out, because just having someone to bounce ideas off of, that sort of thing is something that helps you learn and grow, and your foundation of the education, it just is so invaluable. So that's the best advice I could give for someone who's just starting out, or just looking into getting into this position.
Caleb?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo that. Find a mentor. That's a great way to get exposure to the career path and what that might be like. I think if you're considering an EA as a career path, just do it. I mean, it's fun. It has, like any job, it has its highs and lows, but if you like dealing with people, if you like helping people out, I think it's a great career path, and it really can provide you a wonderful work-life balance. And it can be a really gratifying career. It brings new challenges, Catherine, as you said, it brings new challenges every day. It brings new obstacles that you get to tackle, right? You get to try and understand, learn, and grow. It really has been a great vehicle as a career. So I would say don't hesitate to take that career, the EA career path, and just dive right in. The water's warm and it's fun.
Kathy.
Echoing what everybody else has said, but adding to that, if you're not already a member of NAEA, and I may be a little partial to NAEA, but joining NAEA grew my career in ways that I didn't realize that it would. Just by networking and meeting colleagues and peers and idea sharing on how do you build a practice, or helping, just helping somebody who's aspiring to be an EA. One of the things I've found about the members of NAEA is they are always willing to help. I have picked up the phone and randomly called, looked up, find a tax expert, and said, I'm going to find somebody in Utah, I'll pick on Caleb. And because I have a Utah tax return, I have a question, I'm stuck. And I have never once found somebody that said, I'm not willing to help you or give you advice or mentor you or any, just encourage you. So even if you're not an EA, reach out to the NAEA members that will help you. If you are an EA and you need a mentor or you need help with anything, you can always find somebody that's willing to help in this association. It's a great community to be part of.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything that everybody on this panel said, and I really want to thank everybody on this panel for giving of their time tonight for this discussion. Chris, congratulations on becoming a brand new EA. It's quite an accomplishment. Thank you, Caleb. Rosie, you've been absolutely wonderful. Kathy, of course, as lovely and wonderful as ever. I'd also like to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors. We have scholarships available for EA review courses. If you go to naea-ef.org, we have CPREP review courses from Surgent, Glyme, and Tax Mama. So if you're interested in pursuing this as a career, I would encourage you to sign up for one of these courses and take the next step. And we at the Education Foundation would absolutely love to help you on your journey. If you have any questions or after this program is over, you can certainly reach out. We have an NAEAEF email address. I don't know if Aaron can put it in the chat box, but please reach out to us. And if you have a question specific to one of our panelists, we'll be happy to forward the information on to them. And with that, Meg, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'll just echo my thanks to all the participants. I appreciate your time and sharing your stories and your information. Thank you so much for doing that. And thank you, Catherine, for being an awesome moderator.
Thank you. And if anybody, any of our attendees has any questions,